In the pursuit for backwards compatibility, we come to 802.11ac, which needs to be backwards compatible to 802.11n and possibly even A. How does it manage that? Well, the first thing it's going to do is the same thing that we saw in 802.11n, where the beginning of the frame is sent slowly. And that's so that as messages are coming out that are, let's say, intended for this 802.11n client, if I have another client in the vicinity, well, remember, it's just shared air, it's going to hear that noise. And the modulation for the frame header is slow enough that it can be understood by this client. Why is that important? Because remember, what's in that header that's so important to be able to read? Two key pieces of information, of course. We need to know the MAC address that it's going to and the duration, so we know how long to be quiet as a legacy client before we try and communicate. So then the rest of the data is sent at high speed, meaning a high speed modulation is used. It's all the same frequency, right? So a high speed modulation is used to send more data in a speedy format to the intended destination. This client here won't be able to decipher that, but that's okay. It doesn't need to. It knows it's junk anyway and will discard it. The second thing that's going to be done in the 802.11ac configuration is channel width protection. So remember, one of the big differences between 802.11a is that an N and AC is the support for adjacent 5 gigahertz, 5 gigahertz range, 20 megahertz wide channels. So 802.11a only supports 20 megahertz channel, a single channel. 802.11n supports aggregating 2 adjacent channels. 802.11ac can actually support 80 megahertz, again, doubling that again, and theoretically, even working out to 160 megahertz channels if needed. So, we said that to say this. What we'll do in communicating back and forth between an access point and a client is before we actually start sending our data, we'll send a request to send and clear to send message back and forth. The request to send and clear to send messages are sent only on a single 20 megahertz channel. All right, so there's no chance of any of the data being lost because even though we could drive 4 lanes wide, we're still going to just stick in the one lane. Then what I'm going to send is a message in the request to send from the access point that says, I would love to use an 80 megahertz bandwidth format. What do you say? You willing to do it? And so this client, which let's say is an 802.11n client that doesn't support 80 megahertz, it only supports 40 megahertz, it will send a clear to send message back to the access point saying, yeah, I hear what you're saying, but let's take it back a notch. I can only support a 40 megahertz channel. So it'll ratchet it back down. They've negotiated essentially a common level of communication that they can use back and forth, and data transmissions can move forward.